I will be presenting to you about air pollution in Dhaka, Bangladesh. So right here I have the table of contents we're talking about. I will be going through a certain sequence of slides. So for the first one, we'll be talking about purpose and objective. Then we'll move on to Dhaka's air pollution problem, what is going on, then the health impact and the environmental impact, and as well as just the end summary and references. So for the purpose and objective of today's presentation, I will be providing background for the ongoing environmental issue of air pollution in Dhaka, Bangladesh. I will also be highlighting the negative environmental and health consequences air pollution has on the region, and as well as shed light on the implications of these burdens on the population as a whole. So moving on to Dhaka's air pollution problem, what is going on? So this is where I'm going to be giving the context. So Bangladesh is one of the most populated countries in the world. It is the 9th most populated. And within the city of Dhaka, it's one of the most populated region in the country of Bangladesh itself, and has a population number of about 10 million people. And that's with the capital city itself, and the greater Dhaka state as a whole has about 22 million people as the population. Okay, and just continuing on with demographics. So serving as the capital city, Dhaka serves as the industrial city that is home to thousands of businesses and corporations. And due to its industrial nature, it has attracted a huge influx of people. But with this increase in the city's populace comes the increase of negative consequences such as congestion, poor housing options, unemployment, and air pollution. And this all has to do with Dhaka continuing to rapidly develop. So along with its rapid development, it also comes with the rapid increase of energy consumption due to this very swelling population, and also just all the economic activity and motion and liveliness that is just going on in the capital itself. So here with contributing factors, we have brick kilns, vehicles, soil dust, road dust, metal smelters, and these all lead to particulate matter, dust, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur dioxide. So here, one of the two main contributing factors to the diminishing air quality is vehicles and brick kilns. So in Dhaka City, the serious air pollution kind of occurs in conjunction to just a lot of gasoline and these high numbers of polluting vehicles that also just give off these fuels, and there's just a bunch of also just poor congestion in regards to traffic, so there's poor management of that traffic. And a lot of the major air pollutants that you see there that I've listed are particulate matter, leaded fuel, and dust, nitrogen oxides, and sulfur dioxide. So the emissions from the vehicles that make it the top contributing factor would be vehicles such as cars, buses, trucks, jeeps, minibuses, two-stroke engine-powered vehicles, and motorcycles. And most of these, about a third of these vehicles are actually operated by diesel, which is why it is one of the biggest contributing factors to air pollution. And this happens more in the urban congested, where we talked about, where it's more industrialized and more congested housing. And with the emission of a lot of these vehicles, they emit this black smoke, as well as other systems that include boilers and brick burning. They also emit this kind of smog, and that changes the air quality of these urban areas where there is a lot of congested housing. And the situation of the air pollution in this area, in these cities, actually became very increased rapidly in the 90s, and it became more acute. And then the houses, and another way that they contribute is the houses in Dhaka City are built mainly of bricks, which is why there is a huge production, and there are a bunch of brick kilns there, since majority of the structures are built out of bricks. And a lot of these brick manufacturing sites are built surrounding the city. So a lot of these kilns, they emit a lot of smoke, and they obviously possess a lot of health and other environmental hazards to the city and its populace. And these are the kilns are massively related or elevated levels of pollution. They emit high levels of pollution. Now we're moving on to health impacts. So with individual health impacts, there's mainly affects the respiratory tract and cause infections, as well as creates headaches, irritation, fatigue, asthma, high blood pressure, heart disease, and even cancer. And such air pollutants have been seen as causing cardiovascular diseases, as well as compromising the immune system. So the children's mostly in this area, it's a lot of children who are severely affected by this. The children's mental capabilities, specifically in Dhaka City, tend to be very much diminished by the lead pollution that's emitted from what I mentioned, the contributing factors such as like the brick kilns, and it tends to affect their central nervous system. And this also leads to just a lot of exposure of lead to the blood, to the children's blood, and this eventually leads to irreparable damage to the brain and kidneys. And this also tends to lead as well to other cardiovascular diseases such as bronchitis and COPD. And not to mention that the yearly burden that air pollution has on Dhaka's economic state has been estimated at about like 192 million. And the hazardous nature of air pollution in Bangladesh has accounted for 17.6% of the risk and death and disability. And children are, again, like I said, higher risk because they are not as well developed. Their like immune system in their lungs are not fully developed. So when they do inhale this like air pollutants that have moved indoors, it tends to compromise their growth and development. And that's why it leads to such high risk of mortality and morbidity. Now moving on to finally environmental impact. Air pollution is not only harmful for human beings, it damages the crops and ecosystems, and it degrades visibility, the soils of the buildings, and it could also harm our environment through global warming and the resulting climate change, as well as increasing carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases. The brick burning, going back to those contributing factors, really contributes to climate changes as well as global warming and the absorption of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And that's how it all ties back. Here I have the air quality index levels of health concern. As you can see, it goes from good, moderate, unhealthy for sensitive groups, unhealthy, very unhealthy, and hazardous. And as you can see, as the numerical value goes up, the more hazardous the air quality index is deemed. And here we have a chart for the year of 2022. You can see from January, February, March, and April, they were all pretty high above, and they were all at least above unhealthy for sensitive groups, which shows you that it was very rare to get to the point of moderate and good quality. And here for 2019 as well, you could see that most of the year it was predominantly was unhealthy and moderate, as well as for unhealthy days for sensitive groups, with just very minimal for hazardous, good, and very unhealthy. And just to bring to the summary now, air pollution is a threat to all in the environment. There needs to be more wellness as well as activism regarding bringing change. It promotes public policy and holds the government to the standards that they developed, as well as holding corporations responsible. And that's how we can kind of just diminish the effects that climate change has on Earth, even though we can't stop it. Some effort is better than no effort. And here are the references, and thank you so much.